Hi, I'm Andrew Smith, Associate Director of Governmental Relations with the Virginia Farm Bureau.
And I'm Stephanie Sallin with Virginia Farm Bureau Government Relations. Welcome to Friend of the Farm Chats. Welcome back after our holiday break. We hope everyone had a nice holiday. And this will actually be our last Friend of the Farm video. As General Assembly gets going, we're going to be taking a break from this video series. And if you follow along with our weekly General Assembly video updates, Andrew and I will be back at that next week.
And today we're very fortunate to have Senator Jen McClellan from Richmond with the Senate District number 9. Senator, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you, Andrew and Stephanie. It is a pleasure to be with you. Sorry we can't be together in person.
How about starting this off? Tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe why you first ran for office.
Sure. So I grew up right outside of Petersburg, Virginia, in Matoaka, which has quite a bit of farmland. And I grew up. My parents were educators that worked at Virginia State University. My neighborhood actually was right across the street from the Randolph farm. But before they were educators, they grew up during the Depression in the segregated South, and learning about their life experiences, my parents, my grandparents, my own love of history. I came to believe at a very young age that government at its best is a force for making progress and change and solving people's problems. At its worst, it is a form that oppresses some for the benefit of others. So at 11, I decided I wanted to be a part of making government that force for change, progress, and problem solving. But I really didn't know what that meant until I went to college. I joined Young Democrats, started volunteering on campaigns, looked at all levels of government, thought I would be a lawyer to a congressional committee. That was my dream job. But things just, life takes a different path. Ended up in private practice. And then when my delegate ran for lieutenant governor, and people started encouraging me to run, I thought, yeah, I want to be the one making the change and writing the bills and casting the votes, not just electing other people to do it. So I got elected to the House in 2005, moved to the Senate in 2017. I practice law still. I am married with 2 kids and live in the Fan District of Richmond.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. That's great. I always enjoy hearing how people get to where they are today. So you touched on this a little bit at growing up, but prior to joining the Senate Agriculture Committee, did you have any ties to agriculture or forestry?
I did. So both my parents, my mom grew up in the Gulf Coast of Mississippi, and her father, while professionally he was a carpenter, he had his own farm that was all for their own use. She was one of 14 children. So he sort of had a home farm to feed the family, and every once in a while would sell things. So my mom pretty much grew up on a home farm. My dad's grandparents also had farming ties, again, more home farm than professionally. And he probably spent a little more time actually growing up on a farm. His grandparents owned a school. It was one of the Rosewood schools in Alabama where they taught agriculture. So he spent more time actually learning about agriculture, but they went a different route. But again, living across the street from Randolph Farm, many of my friends that I went to school with lived on farms. We would, drive right past tobacco fields on the way to school every day. So before getting elected to office, I did have that connection to farming.
Thank you.
It's really interesting. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Senator, I often hear legislators, and I've seen legislators talk about it during committee meetings, about when a bill comes before them about a subject they've never heard anything about, and that they really get a good education and learn something. When you're serving on the Senate Agriculture Committee, what have you learned by serving on that committee?
Oh, so much. I think the most that I've learned has been more about aquaculture and like the life cycle of a oyster, things like that. And just, and I've always known and kind of like intellectually understood the connection between farming and aquaculture and environmental issues, but really learning more details about that and sort of the interplay and how the land impacts agribusiness and aquabusiness, and how aquabusiness and agribusiness impacts the land. The science has been very interesting and something I never really thought much about before.
Now, when people think of Richmond City, they might not necessarily think of farming immediately, but we all know agriculture touches everyone. Can you tell us a little bit about your district and how agriculture and forestry fit into it?
Sure. So in the city, we actually have quite a few community gardens, and they're growing in popularity, particularly as part of a strategy to address food deserts, because we have a lot of low-income communities that, for a wide variety of reasons, don't have access to fresh and healthy foods. But I also represent the eastern half of Henrico County, Varina and Fairfield, and Varina is quite a bit of farmland, and then I have all of Charles City County, which is definitely farmland, and has everything from cotton fields to alpaca farms, wheat, soy. So it's a very diverse district, but every jurisdiction, is impacted by farming.
Yeah, I had to laugh a little bit when Stephanie mentioned Richmond and agriculture. My family's got some pictures of when some of my relatives lived in Richmond, and they grew tobacco on the vacant lot next door, and and other things. So it's really.
My house, I live in the Fan, and that used to, there are pictures of when that was a tobacco field. So, as much of at one time, all of my district was.
Well, Senator Stephanie and I both have each a question left, and they seem kind of simple, but they're always fun to hear the response about it. And mine is, when you think of agriculture and forestry, what first comes to mind? What do you think about?
So it's funny because when you said that, the very first thing that popped into my head was peanut butter.
That's fair.
And that was just free forming association. So that's the short answer. I think just how important, and maybe this is to your earlier questions, one of the other things I learned is how important agribusiness is to the Commonwealth. Agriculture, agribusiness and forestry are the top industry in Virginia. And I think that surprises a lot of people. And so when I think of farming, I think of everything that ends up on my table, started off on a farm, and I think about the impact that has not only on my family and our health and our just everyday lives, but the impact that the farms have on our economy.
Thank you.
Well, you may have inadvertently already answered my last question, but that's what is your favorite Virginia grown product?
It's actually not peanut butter, but I do eat a lot. That's a good one. I should wine.
That's a good answer.
Cider. Yeah, wine and cider actually are probably my favorites.
I think that tops Andrew and my list as well.
Yeah.
Very high up there.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Senator McClellan, for joining us today. We greatly appreciate it. And I know we really enjoyed getting to know more about your background, your family's roots, and how you got to where you are today. And we appreciate your knowledge of your district and how agriculture fits into that. So thank you for all that you do for agriculture and forestry.
Thank you. And I look forward to hearing from you all during session, and either email or phone call or text even. We will be keeping an eye and ear out for how you all are impacted by some of the bills we have.
Thank you so much.
We appreciate it.
Thank you. Take care.